Maya got home from college, and the house felt too quiet. No TV noise, no parents arguing about food, just the fridge humming and the soft thump of Liam's soccer ball on the kitchen floor. "Hey," he said, catching the ball. "Hey." She dropped her bag, surprised. What did he get so tall? His shoulders filled the doorway now, and his voice was deeper than she remembered. Their parents were away for the weekend, leaving just the two of them. They were never very close, 3 years apart, different schools, different friends. But that night, they ordered pizza, and for the first time in years, they actually talked. "You remember when we made that blanket fort?" Liam grinned, grabbing a slice from her plate. "Dad was so mad when we broke the lamp." Maya laughed. "You cried like a baby because you threw a pillow at my face." It felt easier than she expected. Later, she saw him washing dishes, sleeves pushed up to his elbows. "I got it," she said, reaching for a towel. "Nah, you're the guest now." He flicked water at her, and she hit his arm without thinking. His skin was warm under her fingers. That's when she noticed he wasn't a kid anymore. The next morning, she woke up to the sound of metal clanking. Liam was outside, bent over his car, grease on his cheek. "Since when do you fix cars?" she asked, leaning against the doorframe. "Since you left for college, and I had no one to annoy me." He wiped his hands on a rag. "Want to learn?" She didn't really, but she stayed anyway, watching as he pointed at different parts of the engine, explaining things. He was patient, even when she asked the same question twice. "You're good at this," she said. He shrugged. Had a lot of time to practice. Something about the way he said it made her chest feel tight. Had he been lonely? That night, a storm knocked out the power. They lit candles and played cards at the kitchen table. Rain hit the windows hard. "I'm glad you're here," Liam said suddenly. His face was half in the shadows. The words surprised her. "Me too." And she meant it. For the first time in years, it didn't feel like small talk. It felt like family. But the next day, something changed. Liam was quiet at breakfast, staring at his cereal like it had answers. "Everything okay?" she asked. "Yeah, just school stuff." She knew he was lying. After pushing him a little, he gave in. He had missed a project deadline, and his scholarship was at risk. "I can't fix it," he muttered, hands clenched. Maya pulled her laptop closer. "Then let's try." They worked for hours, rewriting his paper, fixing mistakes. At one point, Liam groaned and dropped his head on the table. "I'm such an idiot." "No," Maya said firmly. "You're just stuck." "That's different." He looked up at her, eyes tired but thankful. "Thanks." She smiled. "That's what sisters are for." But when she said it, something flashed in his eyes, something she couldn't name. The day she left, Liam walked her to her car. "Don't wait so long to visit next time," he said, hands in his pockets. "I won't." She hugged him quickly, but when she pulled away, he held on a second longer than usual. As she drove off, she glanced in the mirror. He was still standing there, watching her leave. And for the first time, she wondered if sister was the right word after all. Part 2. The Unspoken Thing. Maya stepped off the bus, breathing in the city's air. It smelled like car fumes and rain. Her duffel bag felt heavy on her shoulder. Her small apartment was colder than she remembered after the warmth of home, after Liam's quiet smiles and the way his eyes shined when he talked about car engines. She tossed her keys on the counter, watching them slide across the surface. Before she could even take off her shoes, her phone buzzed. "Liam, did you get back okay?" She could almost hear his voice, that new, deeper sound that still caught her off guard. Her thumbs hovered over the screen. "Me, yeah. This place is a mess, though." 3 dots popped up right away. "Liam, miss your mess." Maya's breath hitched. Since when did Liam text like this? Since when did simple words make her palms sweat? She typed "miss you too," erased it, then settled for a simple, smiley face that somehow felt weak. The next few days blurred into job applications and quiet evenings. Every time her phone dinged, her heart jumped, but Liam didn't text again. Maybe she had imagined that weird feeling. Maybe she was just overthinking normal sibling stuff. Then on Thursday night, her dad called. "Liam's birthday is next weekend," he said, his voice crackling through bad reception. "Your mom thought, well, it'd mean a lot if you surprised him." Maya twisted the phone cord around her fingers. "Did he say that?" "He doesn't have to." So, Saturday morning, she was back on the bus, holding a carefully wrapped gift, a fancy mechanical pencil set. Liam had stared at it in the store for 20 minutes last Christmas, but wouldn't buy it for himself. He had mentioned it 3 times since. The house was dark when she arrived, the porch swing creaking in the wind. She stepped in quietly, her sneakers squeaking against the floor. "Surprise," she whispered, feeling a little silly. A noise came from the kitchen. Liam stood at the fridge, shirtless, drinking orange juice straight from the carton. He froze when he saw her, juice running down his chin onto his chest. "Maya," she held up the gift. "Happy early birthday." For a long moment, he just stared. Then he wiped his mouth with his hand, eyes dropping to the wrapped box. You didn't have to. I know." He tore off the wrapping paper, and his breath caught. The pencils shimmered in their case, the same ones he had traced with his fingers at the store. "You remembered." "Of course I did." Then he hugged her, really hugged her. His bare skin was warm and a little sticky against her arms. Maya hesitated for a second before awkwardly resting her hands on his back. She could feel every muscle, the steady beat of his heart. When they pulled away, the air felt heavy. "You hungry?" Liam asked, stepping back. "I could make." "Yeah," Maya said too quickly. "Food. Great." That night, after the cake and after their parents went to bed early, they sneaked beers onto the porch. The air was warm and smelled like freshly cut grass. "Remember when you taught me to ride a bike?" Liam asked, peeling the label off his bottle. Maya groaned. "You crashed into Mrs. Petrovsky's rose bushes. And you took the blame." He turned to her, eyes dark in the dim light. "Why?" She shrugged, avoiding his gaze. "You looked so scared standing there with all those thorns in your knees. I couldn't let you get in trouble too." Liam's face softened in a way that made her stomach feel weird. "You always looked out for me." The way he said it, like it was something special, something important, made her feel warm. "Not always," she murmured, thinking of a year she had been too busy to notice him growing up. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then, so lightly she almost missed it, Liam's pinky brushed against hers on the armrest between them. Neither of them moved away. The next morning, while Liam was in the shower, Maya's mom cornered her in the kitchen. "You and Liam seem closer," she said, pouring syrup over pancakes. Maya stabbed a blueberry with her fork. "We're just talking more now that I'm not drowning in schoolwork." Her mom made a small humming sound, one Maya couldn't quite figure out. "He missed you, you know, more than he'd ever admit." The pancakes suddenly tasted dry. Later, as she helped clear the table, Liam's friend Jake barged in without knocking, his baseball cap turned backward like always. "Oh wow," Jake said, stopping when he saw Maya. "You're the stepsister?" Liam stood up so fast his chair screeched. "Jake, outside, now." They disappeared down the hall, but Maya still caught Jake's whispered words. "Dude, you weren't kidding about." The door slammed behind them. Maya sat completely still, her half-eaten pancake forgotten. What wasn't he kidding about? That night, heavy rain beat against the windows. Maya was scrolling through her phone when a soft knock came at her door. "Come in," she called, expecting her mom with laundry or an extra blanket. But it was Liam, his hair damp from the shower. He wore that old Star Wars t-shirt she always made fun of, the one with a hole near the bottom that he refused to throw away. "Can't sleep," he said quietly, standing in the doorway. She scooted over on the bed without thinking. "Bad dream." "No." He sat beside her, close enough that she could smell his shampoo, something clean and citrusy. The mattress dipped under his weight. "I need to tell you something." The way he looked at her, serious and vulnerable at the same time, made her breath catch. "I don't think of you as my sister," Liam whispered, his voice barely louder than the rain. "Not anymore." Maya's heart pounded so hard she was sure he could hear it. Before she could answer, before she could even understand what he meant, the door creaked open. Their mom stood in the doorway, frozen, eyes moving between them. Before we continue, pause for a second. Drop your country in the comments right now so we can see where this story hits hardest. Globe showing Europe, Africa, and smash that subscribe button, or risk missing the twist that has everyone screaming. Trust us, you'll regret skipping it. Part 3. What comes after? The rain kept falling. It tapped on the windows like small fingers knocking, waiting for someone to speak. Maya's mother stood in the doorway, her long robe hanging loose around her shoulders. Her face was hard to read in the dim light. Liam moved away so fast that the bed made a loud, squeaky noise. "Mom," Maya tried to say, but her voice felt stuck. Her mother's sharp eyes moved from Liam to Maya, noticing everything. The way Liam's face was red. The way Maya's fingers still held the sheets where he had been sitting. The air smelled like rain, Liam's citrus shampoo, and something else, something heavy. Was it panic? Or was it guilt? "I came to say good night," her mother said, her voice slow and careful. "Liam, your father needs help with the gutters. They're full again." Liam stood up so fast that his knees made a small popping sound. "Okay, yeah." He didn't look at Maya as he walked past. His shoulder bumped against the doorframe on his way out. The door clicked shut behind him. The sound felt too loud. Maya's mother let out a long breath through her nose, like she was counting to 10. "We'll talk in the morning," she said. Her voice wasn't angry, but it was serious. Maya's stomach twisted into knots. Maya didn't sleep that night. She lay on her old bed, staring at the tiny, glow-in-the-dark stars on the ceiling. She had stuck them there when she was 12. One of them was peeling at the corner. The rain outside was softer now, and sometimes she could hear her parents talking in low voices downstairs. "Are they talking about us?" She turned over and pushed her face into the pillow. Liam's words played again and again in her head. "I don't think of you as my sister. Not anymore." His voice had cracked a little when he said it, like it was hard for him to admit. A floorboard creaked in the hallway. Maya held her breath, waiting, but no one knocked on her door. The sky was still gray when Maya finally gave up on sleeping. She walked downstairs quietly, her socks sliding on the wooden floor. The kitchen light was already on. Her mother was sitting at the table, holding 2 steaming mugs of tea. She didn't look up as Maya stopped at the doorway. "Sit," her mother said. Maya pulled out a chair. It made a loud, scraping noise on the tile floor. Her mother slid one of the mugs toward her. Chamomile tea. The smell reminded Maya of being a kid, of sick days and heartbreaks. "Your father took Liam to the hardware store," her mother said. "We have time to talk." Maya wrapped her hands around the warm mug. It was hot, almost too hot to hold. "Nothing happened," she said quickly. Her mother's fingers tightened around her own mug. But something almost did. The heavy silence between them made it hard to breathe. Maya looked down at the small chip on the rim of her cup. She had broken it when she was 8 years old. "Mom, do you have feelings for him?" her mother asked. Her voice was soft, but the words hit like a slap. Maya's throat went dry. I don't know. It was the truth. A messy, confusing truth. Her mother closed her eyes for a second. When she spoke again, her voice was even softer. "This isn't normal, Maya. Normal." The word felt like a sharp stone stuck in Maya's chest. Liam didn't come home for lunch. When her father returned, his boots left muddy tracks on the floor. "He's at Jake's," he said when Maya's mother gave him a questioning look. Said he'd be back for dinner. Maya poked at her sandwich. The bread had gone soggy. The empty chair beside her felt too big. The day dragged on. Maya tried to read, tried to scroll through her phone. But every little sound, the creak of the house, the distant rumble of a car, made her look up. Is that him? But it never was. The sky was turning dark when the front door finally opened. Liam walked in, his sneakers dripping wet. His hair was messy and stuck to his forehead from the rain. He smelled like wet streets and cheap gas. "You're back," Maya said. Her voice sounded too loud in the quiet house. Liam glanced at the stairs, then back at her. Yeah, neither of them moved. The soft humming of the dryer filled the silence, spinning clothes in an endless circle. "Mom talked to me," Maya blurted out. "You're back," Maya said. Her voice sounded too loud in the quiet house. Liam glanced at the stairs, then back at her. Yeah, neither of them moved. The soft humming of the dryer filled the silence, spinning clothes in an endless circle. "Mom talked to me," Maya blurted out. Liam's jaw tensed. "Yeah, I figured." He pulled at a loose thread on his sleeve. "Look, about last night." "Don't," Maya cut in quickly. The word came out sharper than she meant it to. "Just Don't apologize, okay? Because if he apologized, it would make everything real. It would mean they had to explain what this was. And Maya wasn't ready for that. She wasn't ready for anything except the way Liam was looking at her now. Like she was a puzzle he couldn't figure out. After a long moment, Liam nodded. He grabbed an apple from the fruit bowl and went upstairs without another word. The next morning, Maya found a note taped to her door. Gone to campus early. Don't wait up. L. No goodbye. No explanation. Just a simple letter at the end, like they were strangers sharing a house instead of whatever they had almost been. Maya pulled the note down carefully. She folded it into smaller and smaller squares until it was nothing but a tiny, hard lump in her hand. Part 4. The distance between us. The house felt empty without Liam. Maya sat at the kitchen table, staring at the chair where Liam usually sat. His cereal bowl was still in the sink, untouched for 5 days. She had put it there, but couldn't bring herself to wash it. The dried milk inside had cracked, making strange shapes like a broken map. Her mother's voice startled her. He called last night. Maya's head snapped up. Liam. Who else? Her mother placed a grocery bag on the counter. Her voice was calm, too calm. He said his dorm is fine. Small but fine. What else did he say? The words rushed out of Maya's mouth before she could stop them. Her mother looked at her with soft eyes. Not much. He sounded tired. She slowly unpacked the groceries. Your father thinks it's good for him. Living on his own before school starts. Maya traced a line on the wooden table. Do you think so too? Her mother paused too long before answering. When Maya looked up, her mother was staring out the window, holding a carton of eggs without moving. I think, her mother said softly, that sometimes being apart helps people understand what they really want. That afternoon, Maya found herself in Liam's empty room. It still smelled like him, laundry soap and the citrus body wash he had used for years. His soccer trophies were gone, but the framed photo from their beach trip was still there. She picked it up. In the picture, they were kids, their faces sunburned, Liam's arm around her shoulders like always. The bed was neatly made, which wasn't like him. She touched the blanket, then leaned down and pressed her face into his pillow. The scent of his shampoo was still there. A floorboard creaked behind her. Maya turned quickly. Her father stood in the doorway, his face hard to read. Looking for something? He asked. Maya's face grew hot. Just seeing what he left behind. Her father nodded. He took most of his things. Said he'd come back for the rest. He hesitated, then added, he asked about you. Maya's heart jumped. What did he say? Her father scratched his beard. He said, tell her to check her top drawer. Maya ran to her room. Her top drawer was full of old memories, concert tickets, birthday cards, the seashell Liam had given her years ago. She dug through them and found a folded note with her name written in Liam's messy handwriting. Her hands shook as she opened it. Maya, I'm not good at talking about feelings. You know that. I meant what I said that night. Every word. But I also know this is complicated. Mom and Dad would never understand. No one would. Maybe that doesn't matter. Maybe we're the only ones who get to decide. I'll be at the diner near campus on Friday at 3. If you want to talk. If not, I understand. L. Maya read the note 3 times, then pressed it to her chest. The paper smelled faintly like the pencils Liam always used. Friday morning, it rained. Maya sat on her bed, watching the water drip down the window. She had changed her clothes 4 times before finally choosing jeans and the blue sweater Liam once said looked nice on her. You're going to see him, her mother said from the doorway. It wasn't a question. Maya didn't turn. Yeah. Her mother sighed. Maya, I know. Maya faced her. It's weird. It's complicated. People won't understand. People don't understand, her mother corrected gently. This kind of thing happens more often than you think. But that doesn't make it easy. Maya swallowed. Do you hate me? Her mother's face softened. She stepped forward and hugged Maya tightly. Never. I just want you to be sure. Both of you. Maya buried her face in her mother's shoulder. What if I don't know what I'm sure of? Her mother pulled back and held Maya's face in her hands. Then you take it slow, she said. And you talk. Really talk. The diner was quiet. The air smelled like coffee and syrup. Maya spotted Liam right away, sitting in their usual booth, fidgeting with a straw wrapper. He He hadn't seen her yet. For a moment, she just watched him. His knee bounced up and down. He kept glancing at the door. Then he looked up, and his whole face changed when he saw her. Maya's heart pounded as she walked toward him. Liam stood as she reached the table, his hands hanging awkwardly at his sides. He looked like he didn't know whether to hug her or not. "You came," he said softly. Maya slid into the seat across from him. "Yeah." A waitress appeared, chewing gum loudly. "What can I get you two?" Liam didn't look away from Maya. "2 chocolate shakes." Like always. When the waitress left, silence filled the space between them. Rain hit the windows in soft taps. Somewhere in the diner, someone laughed. Liam spoke first. "I'm sorry I left like that." Maya ran a finger through the condensation on her water glass. "I'm sorry I didn't stop you." Their milkshakes arrived. The whipped cream was already melting. Liam pushed his cherry toward Maya, like he always did. She took it without thinking, their fingers brushing. Neither of them pulled away. Part 5. The Secret Afternoons. The house felt different when they were alone. Not just empty, but alive in a new way. Maya stood at the kitchen sink, watching the last drops of water circle the drain as she washed their lunch dishes. The clock on the microwave read 1:17 p.m. Their parents wouldn't be back until Sunday evening. Behind her, Liam's footsteps were quiet on the tile floor. She didn't need to turn around to know where he was standing. She could feel his presence like heat from an open oven door. "Hey," he said softly, closer now. Maya kept scrubbing the same plate, her fingers wrinkling in the soapy water. "Hey." His arm slipped around her waist from behind, his chin resting on her shoulder. The familiar scent of his shampoo, something woodsy and clean, mixed with the lemon dish soap. "They just left," Maya whispered, even as she leaned back into him. Liam's lips brushed the side of her neck. "I know." Her breath hitched when his hands slid up under her t-shirt, warm against her stomach. The plate slipped from her fingers with a clatter into the soapy water. "We shouldn't," she said weakly. Liam turned her around, his eyes dark and serious. "Tell me to stop." Maya opened her mouth, closed it. The words wouldn't come. His lips found hers before she could think of any more protests. It had started 6 weeks ago, a hot July afternoon with the air conditioning broken. Maya had been sprawled on the living room floor in shorts and a tank top, fanning herself with a magazine. Liam came in from mowing the lawn, shirtless and sweaty, droplets of water from the garden hose still glistening on his chest. "Jesus, it's hot," he'd groaned, collapsing onto the couch behind her. When she turned to respond, her eyes caught on the way his sweatpants rode low on his hips. Something flickered in Liam's expression as he noticed her staring. The magazine slipped from her fingers. What happened next was a blur of hands and mouths and gasping breaths. The feel of his skin under her palms, hotter than the summer air. The way he'd whispered her name like a prayer when she touched him. Afterward, lying tangled together on the couch, reality came crashing back. "Oh God," Maya had breathed, scrambling up. "We can't, this is..." Liam caught her wrist. "It's okay," he'd said, though his voice shook. "We didn't do anything wrong." But they both knew that wasn't true. After that first time, it became their secret ritual. Every Friday afternoon, when their parents left for their weekend trips, they'd wait exactly 27 minutes, Maya counted, before finding each other. Sometimes in her room, sometimes in his. Once in the basement laundry room when they couldn't wait. They learned each other's bodies with the intensity of explorers mapping new territory. The exact spot behind Liam's ear that made him shiver when she breathed on it. How Maya's breath would catch in her throat when Liam's calloused hands slid up her bare thighs. The way they both had to bite their lips to stay quiet, though the house was empty. They never said, "I love you." Those words felt too dangerous, too final. But with every touch, every secret afternoon, the unspoken words grew heavier between them. The first Saturday in August nearly ruined everything. Maya had Liam pressed against her bedroom door, her hands under his shirt, when they heard the garage door open 2 hours early. "Kids? We're back." They froze. Liam's eyes went wide with panic. Maya could feel his heart pounding where her chest pressed against his. Footsteps on the stairs. "Hi," Maya hissed, pushing him toward the closet. Liam grabbed his shirt from the floor and dove in just as the doorknob turned. Maya, her mom stood in the doorway, grocery bags in hand. We brought lunch. Maya willed her voice not to shake. Thanks. I was just napping. Her mother's eyes swept the room. The rumpled bed, Maya's flushed face, the closet door that wasn't quite closed. A beat of silence stretched too long. Liam's not with you? Maya's throat went dry. No, I think he's outside. Another pause. Then her mother set the bags down. Come help me unpack the groceries. The door closed. Maya collapsed onto the bed, shaking. From the closet, she heard Liam let out a shaky breath. That night at dinner, no one mentioned the extra grocery bag left forgotten in Maya's room, or the way Liam couldn't meet anyone's eyes, or how Maya's mother watched them both a little too closely. It happened on a rainy afternoon in late August. They were lying in Liam's bed, the sound of rain pattering against the windows. Maya traced idle patterns on his bare chest, following the trail of dark hair down his stomach. I love you. The words slipped out before she could stop them. Liam went completely still beneath her. Maya's stomach dropped. She opened her mouth to take it back, to laugh it off. Then Liam rolled them over, pinning her wrists to the mattress. His eyes burned into hers, more intense than she'd ever seen them. Say it again. Maya swallowed hard. I love you, Liam. He kissed her so fiercely it stole her breath. When he pulled away, his voice was rough. I've loved you since I was 15 years old. The admission hung between them, terrifying and wonderful. Now, as summer fades into September, Maya packed for college. Liam leans against her bedroom doorway, watching as she folds sweaters into her suitcase. You'll come home weekends, he says. It's not a question. Maya smiles, holding up 2 fingers. Every other Friday. 3:17 p.m. train. Liam crosses the room in 3 long strides, pulling her into his arms. His kiss tastes like promises and the hundreds of secret afternoons they've shared, and the hundreds more to come. Downstairs, their parents laugh about something in the kitchen. Sunlight streams through the curtains, painting golden stripes across the bed where they've loved each other in secret all summer. And for the first time, Maya doesn't feel afraid. She just feels, finally, like she's home. If this story wrecked you in the best way possible, like this video, so YouTube show it to more people. Comment your biggest gas moment. Subscribe because the next story will destroy you even harder. We see you hesitating. Just do it.